Flowers in the Attic is a novel written by Virginia Cleo Andrews, mostly known as P.C. Andrews, an American author from the 20th century. She was famous for her saga The Dole and Ganges Family, a series of 5 books whose first we are going to analyze in this video. But first, let me tell you some details about the author. Victoria Andrews was born in 1923 in the little town of Portsmouth, Virginia, in the heart of a humble family with 3 children, being the little and only girl. At her adolescence, Andrews suffered a terrible fall from the school stairwell that obliged her to live most of her life stuck in a wheelchair or held by a pair of crutches. Nevertheless, she never gave up and left her disability sink her in the darkness, and she finally became a successful illustrator, as she has dreamed. The first novel she published was Flowers in the Attic, which it was confirmed to be written in just 2 weeks. It became a bestseller almost instantly, giving the author an enormous success all of a sudden. In 1986, Andrews died because of breast cancer. But how it was possible then that the novels continued going out after her death? Well, that was because the family hired a ghostwriter called Andrew Niederman to complete the manuscript she had left almost finished. Andrew's novels combine gothic horror and family saga, revolving around family secrets and forbidden love. The reason why the saga was classified as gothic by the critic is the agglomeration of many of the typical elements of the horror stories from the 18th century, presented in a profuse quantity, as they were the young women trapped in a mansion by the hideous evil man, although in this case, instead of a woman, there were 4 siblings who were hidden by their mother and grandmother. The incest, the idea of the forbidden, the growth and experimentation in sexuality. It was always controversial and sometimes banned in certain communities because of the presence of consensual incest and the narration of adolescent sex. It also appears the idea of the destiny. The life of the characters are conditioned by the sins of their parents. Their pain and sorrow were caused by the tendency of the characters for the imitation of their predecessors, the hereditary curse. But at the same time, this is not a curse. This is the effect in result of decisions that people around them take. This novel is also controversial because of the element of betrayal. It presents the two-faced mother, a symbol of unity in the family, the figure of protection and warmness, and it is, at the end, the villain, the person who almost destroyed the children. Having talked about the most important themes in the story, there are also some less obvious but also significant, as for example, the power of the stories. The children, grown up, raised by books, conditioned by their readings, and even imitating them without knowing it. This, I have to recognize, that is one of my favorite themes of all the novel. I think it's marvelous how the author explained how novels can change your life. Let's talk about the plot. The story is narrated by Kathy, one of the siblings, and written as a fictional rewriting of her journal entries, and after published under an assumed name of Kathy Dole and Ganges, in order to shame the family that humiliated and imprisoned her and her siblings. It is a painful account of 4 children's attempt to survive in a family that despises their existence. When Kathy was 12, her father dies in a car accident in his way to work. The premature death of the head of the family obliges Corinne, the mother, to take the decision of doing whatever it takes in order to maintain her family united. However, the situation led them to get back to her family home in Virginia, a place she has abandoned after marrying Christopher, condemned by her parents for an unknown reason. Back there, Corinne's mother, Olivia, consents to hide the children upstairs into a small bedroom to keep them in secret, whereas Corinne does her best in recovering her father's affection. Throughout the novel, the characters are giving us little by little small fragments that let that lend us the information to discover before it mentions that Kathy's parents were niece and uncle, an illegitimate marriage corrupted under God's eyes, the reason why her grandmother is obsessed with the immorality, purity, and God. Trapped in this little room, Kathy and Christopher decided to accept their roles as parents in order to look after the twins, trying to making them feel as comfortable as possible with their new life. They narrate them million stories, building an external world full of heroes and adventures, an attempt to support day after day this misery. Her mother, Corinne, returns to the attic every night, reminding the children to be quiet and wait for a couple of days until they could go downstairs and be happy ever after again. However, days stretches to weeks, months and years, and the visits became less and less frequent without reason. Until on Christmas Eve. This day Kathy and Chris were allowed to observe from the security of the shadows the celebration party, when they suddenly discover her mother talking to a mysterious man. In this part of the novel, we can clearly conceive a transformation of Corinne. The moment when she goes upstairs and puts her hands on Christopher, threatening her son, we see a foreshadowing of her becoming a cruel and hypercritical woman as Olivia, who has stopped caring about her children. They grow older. The poor nutrition, the lack of sun and fresh air have affected them, mostly the little twins. Kathy and Chris, by their side, become adolescents, forced to follow the same destiny as their parents. Raised up alone, reading stories of love, and experimenting the power of sexuality over them, they end up falling in love in secret, while the grandmother becomes more and more abusive. In one of their midnight adventures, they escape from their room, and Kathy, guided by the curiosity, kisses the asleep mysterious man they have seen with their mother, and who by that time has become her husband. This action disencadenates the jealousy inside Chris, who ended raping her sister and confessing his love. A little bit excessive in my opinion, but, as we said, it's a Gothic novel. On an unexpected day, Corey, one of the twins, becomes ill of what their mother called pneumonia, but he never comes back from the hospital. And that is when Chris overheard that the grandfather has been dead for months, but Corinne will inherit nothing if it is known about the children. So her plan was to drug them little by little with rat poison and pretend they haven't existed. Nevertheless, aware of that, the siblings finally escaped from the prison they had been living. This horrific story could be just that, the fantasies of a woman, but in the prologue, Andrews claims that this story is all true, but that names and places had been interchanged to protect the privacy of the protagonist. And that is the end of the video. I hope you like it, I hope you enjoy it, and if you haven't read the book, you must read the book. It's a marvelous book.